Welcome back. Ty and that guy. I'm West Chatham. This is my good buddy. Super talented. Super handsome. Wearing glasses today. I'm not used to him wearing glasses. Ty Franck. He's a famous book author. Puts words on page. The book's without pictures. There's chapters. So I haven't had a chance to read them yet. A little bit challenging.
Too challenging.
And today I want to introduce our mediocrely talented producer, Joseph. Hello, Joseph. What are we talking about today, Ty?
We got some sad news recently with the passing of George Wendt. And so we decided we needed to do something for George. I mean, guys our age grew up with George because Cheers was on for 37 years. George was such a standout comedic actor on that show. So, I mean, we all just sort of grew up with this guy. And the idea that he's gone is really sad. But we wanted to do a movie. And the movie that both Wes and I like that has George Wendt in it, Dreamscape.
Dreamscape, baby.
The Dennis Quaid masterpiece, or should I say the David Patrick Kelly masterpiece. David Patrick Kelly, one of my favorite actors of all time.
Now, if you would have said to me, if you would have said, hey, this podcast, let's do, and you didn't remember the name of the movie, and you go, let's do the movie where you can invade people's dreams and kill them. He is in 1984, the movie. I would have done all my work for Nightmare on Elm Street.
Right.
And it's crazy to think, again, you know, like we go back to Stephen King where he believes that stories are found things, that there's things in the creative atmosphere that need to be told. And if you just open your channel to it, then those things come out. And there's like similar stories that come around at the same time. It's not necessarily, sometimes people copy each other. Sometimes something's successful and they do that. But like if you think Brainstorm was a year before this, and then you have Dreamscape, you got Nightmare on Elm Street, and then the next year you got Dream Warriors. And actually, the guy that did Dream Warriors was a writer on this, so I wonder if he was inspired by that.
And the idea of something that can kill you in your dreams is a very old idea.
Well, Nosferatu, you think about Nosferatu,
there's mythological monsters that could kill you in your dreams.
So before I was older and way more sophisticated and intelligent and educated, and I mean some say brilliant. A little strong, but before all that, when I was a naive little kid, I thought that Dreamscape was the pioneer of the dream storyline. But I also thought all human history started at 1980. So like all creative and movie history started in 1980. So whenever I saw something, I was like, that's the first time that's ever happened in movies. Like this doesn't come. It's like the Bible, like the original stories.
Yeah. So it's not uncommon for people the first time they see something to think that was the first time that thing ever existed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I was exaggerating. You know, I didn't think that this was the first time that dreams were in a storyline. I'm just for a fact. I mean,
you also exaggerated, called yourself brilliant.
No, I didn't call myself brilliant. I said everybody else calls myself, like Time Magazine. I didn't say I called myself brilliant. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's beyond. So this is one of those movies that was legend in my mind before I even got a chance to see it. And I think, there were a lot of periods growing up where cable TV was just, we couldn't afford it. So like there were times where I had big blank spots of movies. And so I remember this movie was a hot topic on the elementary school playgrounds and on the bus. And it was while it was in the HBO rotation. And also like this movie was a big hit. I have no memory of it ever being in the theaters or like friends talking about it in the theaters. It was only until it came on cable TV and VHS. And so
I did see this in the theater.
You did?
Yeah. So
do tell.
So I had when I was like a teenager, I had the good version of a relationship that people look askance to. There was a guy that I knew, that my parents knew, that was like in his 20s. And he was super into computer stuff. He was actually a computer programmer for the phone company. And I was into computer stuff. He was a pilot and I was into flying. And so we just wound up, whenever we'd be at church, we would wind up talking. We'd talk about the latest computer news that was coming out. We'd talk about flying, all that stuff. So we wound up being really good friends. It never got creepy. It was never weird. It was actually a super wholesome relationship, right? But anyway,
Right. No
so this dude and I used to hang out a lot.
He didn't touch his pee-pee.
Never, unless I asked. But we used to hang out a lot. And one of the things we would do is when movies would come, he was a big movie fan.
Right.
And of course, this was back in the religious days. So you didn't go
Right.
see the R-rated movies. But
Right.
anything that looked interesting that was PG,
Right.
like we would have to go see it. So he was like, hey, there's this movie that's coming out about like people can kill you in your dreams. We should go check that out. So he took me to this movie. And there's two things I remember. One, I remember loving this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And two, I remember him getting super offended at the sex scene with Kate Capshaw and wanting to leave the theater and me talking him out of it. Because
Right.
no, it's that part's almost over with. We got to see the rest of this.
Yeah.
Because of course, the super religious people,
Right.
like if there's a sex scene, that's a big deal. So he took me to this movie. I remember loving this movie. I remember I wanted to go back right away and watch it again. Because back then, that was the only way you could see a movie twice, right? I think it was the first movie I had seen where I really noticed Dennis Quaid. Like, I know that around here, like Enemy Mine was not too far off from this, but I think I saw this first. But the other thing is, so when I was younger, I had a friend who lived down the street who his family had HBO. So he's the guy, like I would go hang out with him and we'd watch like Alien, stuff like that, right? Because I could not watch that at my house. That was a big no-no. But while I was at his house one day, he had an older brother who was kind of a lazy douchebag who would just sit around the house and smoke pot and watch TV all day.
Oh, so he wasn't a Chet.
He was not. But yeah, he was just kind of like the guy who sat around the house and smoked pot and watched TV.
He was like Brad Pitt, the roommate.
Except not as good looking.
Okay, all right.
Anyway, well, we were hanging out at his house, and his brother was sitting on the couch watching this movie. He's like, hey, you guys should check this movie out. It's badass.
Yeah.
And it was The Warriors.
Oh,
And I remember watching
David Patrick Kelly.
And David Patrick Kelly, Warriors, come out and play it. And when I saw David Patrick Kelly show up in Dreamscape, I was all in.
Oh,
I fucking love this dude.
Yeah.
He's amazing. And I love him in Dreamscape. I was super excited that he was there.
Right.
Plays such a badass in Dreamscape, like scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I came out of this movie absolutely loving it.
Yeah. And so what got me, there was an art of like picking movies based off the artwork or the posters. Like you would go down
when you were in the video store.
Yeah, the video store. And like I went through a phase where like I had it down to an art, of like, oh, I know this is going to be, because if they do a good job, they tell you what the movie is in the title and in the artwork and everything like that. But I remember coming across Dreamscape, and Dreamscape had an excellent cover art, like an excellent poster. And I think the guy that did, I wonder, did this?
It's Drew Struzan?
Yes, that's who it is. So I'm not saying Temple of Doom is my favorite of the Raiders movies. It's my second favorite, but I love the Temple of Doom artwork. I love the Temple of Doom posters. But didn't he do those as well?
Yeah, he a lot of our favorite movies. He did the artwork for them.
Uh-huh.
So like Back to the Future, a lot of the Indiana Jones stuff. Goonies.
Oh, he did Back to the Future? Oh, he did Blade Runner? Get it the fuck out of here.
He is one of the best poster artists of all
And
time.
Dreamscape has a very Temple of Doom poster.
It very much so, because he's holding a torch and he's getting in there. Wow.
Yeah.
What's his name? Drew what?
I don't know how to pronounce it correct, but it's Struzan. But yeah, he retired recently from doing artwork. He's just like, yeah, I'm good. Yeah, he even did. Yeah.
Dude went out an absolute legend though. So, it's okay to walk off the battlefield when you're already a legend.
So I rented this movie, and then not only did the artwork or whatever, but the legend of this movie. I already knew all the parts. I knew like the kid's dream. I knew the Snake Man. I knew all of these things going in. I was piecing all of these stories together from my friends, just drilling them for stories. And finally, I had the movie in my hands, and I went back and watched it, and I loved it. There's this. I just worked with this actor who is very very concerned about AI. And he's done a lot of research. He's read a lot about AI. And he says that at some point, somebody's going to be able to say, I want this type of story with this type of actor and this type of thing, and I want it to happen. And AI, and they'll fully make a movie for you where you can go and watch the movie.
And it'll be derivative as fuck.
I know. But that's the thing that he was saying.
Yeah.
And so if you would have told Baby Cadillac, okay, you can create your own movie, and these are this is the type of movie that I would have wanted to see. The ideas in it were so interesting to me. And the Dennis Quaid and the whole thing is what I would have seen. And I loved it. I really just enjoyed the whole thing.
Yeah, it's even rewatching it now as an adult. I mean, I see the flaws in it, but it doesn't matter. It's still it's a fun story. It moves along quickly. It has a great bad guy. The dream sequences, obviously the visual effects of the time could not quite pull off the scale of things that they were trying to do. But I think that actually added to the dreamlike feel of it.
Yes.
That things aren't perfect.
Yes.
That things seem a little weird and a little off.
Yeah.
So I don't think it actually hurts those sequences, even though, you can see the flaws in the visual effects. I think it actually kind of, in a way, helps them.
Right. So here's what's interesting to me about this movie. So I loved it so much as a kid, and then I watched it not too long ago, maybe 5-7 years ago, because I thought I think we thought about doing it on the podcast. And I watched the movie, maybe longer than that. Maybe it was I don't know. I watched the movie, and I was a bit let down because I loved it so much as a kid. And I went back and watched it, and it felt more dated. I'm not a huge fan of the score. It felt to me that the ideas in the movie are better than the movie as a whole, in that it felt a bit bogged down with the government conspiracy storyline, and then the sci-fi storyline, and the horror storyline, and then the love story. It didn't seem like it executed all together. But then, so we decided we're going to do this movie, and I went back and watched it yesterday, and I really liked it again. And I was, and I think that it's all about expectations, because my expectations were so high when I was younger, and I watched and it's like, oh, this is a flawed movie. And then you're seeing all the flaws. But then when you go back and you watch it again, you're like, but this is really good for what it is.
Yeah.
And one of the things is like, that I loved about it is like, if you get Max von Sydow and Christopher Plummer in there.
Yeah, a couple of legends, right?
Yeah. And it's and there's
and
so
fucking Eddie Albert.
and they have so much dignity. They're so grounded. And then you just like, it was really smart casting a couple of heavyweight actors like that just really, like Christopher Plummer is like the great villain.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, to me, the great villain of this movie is David Patrick Kelly.
Yeah.
Playing the sort of dream assassin that the government is trying to train to murder people in their dreams. I've always liked him. I think he's so weird in everything he does, and that weirdness, like, some people are weird and it's off-putting and it makes the performance less.
Yeah. And
some people are weird in a way that dials up and multiplies the performance.
Yeah.
And David Patrick Kelly has always been that kind of weird for me. Whenever he shows up in something, his weirdness will make that part better.
Because he's not manufacturing the weird. It comes from an organic place.
Yeah.
And that could have been a horrible role, because it was written as an on-the-nose bad guy, 80s guy, 80s bad guy. But he has such a weird vibe and an interesting presence to him that it just works. And the whole, like, insecurity of him, the fear of not being the big swinging dick, not being the top psychic, not being the guy, like this guy is definitely has deep insecurities. Feels inferior. You get this guy Dennis Quaid, who's handsome, comes in, he's more athletic, bigger, and he fucking hates him, and the jealousy there, and that just radiates from him. It's just
and he's also, I mean, he plays it as if he is a true psychopath.
Yeah.
It's like the government went out and found a psychopath who could also do the dream thing.
Yeah.
Like, perfect. That's the perfect guy. Let's get him.
Like when he kills that woman and he's eating a sandwich. drinking his Coke, and he's like, I'm so beat up over it. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And one of my favorite lines when Dennis Quaid grabs him, he goes, take your hand off me or pull back a stump.
Bloody stump. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But and another thing too is like for whatever reason, the effects did not feel as dated as that time that I watched it before. I actually felt like it was cool and fresh because I'm so tired of like perfect CGI.
Well, and as I said, the
it's a dream.
failure of the effects, it makes it feel more dreamlike.
Yes.
The scene where he's trying to help the guy on the girder. Just a quick rundown of what the movie is. Scientists have discovered that there's a way to teach psychics to project themselves into other people's dreams. Ostensibly, this program is to help people. Like people who have recurring nightmares that are causing them psychological trauma, you can go and you can help them. The government conspiracy that Wes was talking about is the government wants to use this to see if it's possible for someone to go into a dream and murder someone in that dream and have them die in real life. So there's these two competing ideas. But there's a scene early on where Dennis Quaid goes into the dream of a guy who's a construction worker, a high steel worker, who has a recurring dream of falling and dying like every night, and it's fucking him up. Right. And there's a scene where he's in that dream with the guy, and the guy falls off the girder and he grabs him and he's trying to hold him. And the CGI in that scene, it's basically green screen. It's very imperfect. The compositing is very off. But what that did as I was watching it it felt so much like a dream to me. If like a lot of times when you're watching movies and they're in dreams, it just looks like the real world, and that feels wrong to me because dreams never feel like that, right? This is the first time I saw people in dreams where it felt like they were in dreams.
Right.
Yeah.
It's exactly right. I think the most dreamlike of the dreams is the dream of the little kid. But I don't want to jump on that right now. So there's a school of psychics. It reminds me of the X-Men, right? It's like the school where they train these psychics up. Dennis Quaid was one of the most talented people that they've had at this school. So they track him down. They find him because they want him to be involved with this new program.
And he's basically been using his powers to cheat at like gambling.
I know. To cheat at gambling. I mean, I think, Dennis Quaid's arc in this is to go from selfish to selfless.
Yeah.
And he got so sick of being, it was almost like the kid that was really good at sports. And so they make him live, breathe, and eat like Tiger Woods and golf. Yeah. And then they just go a point where they just go fucking crazy and bang everybody and do drugs and alcohol. No, I'm just kidding. But so he just basically was so sick of all of that shit that he's done. And so what he does for a living is he just goes to horse races and picks winners in the horse race. One of the things that have given us trouble as we advance in our technology is that the answer machine was such a great way to deliver exposition. It's like the audio equivalent of having the camera pan over the fireplace where you see the pictures of them evolving. So he comes in and he pushes play on his answer machine, and you see like the girl that he's blowing off, and this bill's overdue or whatever, and you just get like this whole picture of who he is by his answer machine, and he's kind of a grifter, right? He's just kind of a psychic con man who likes to romance the women.
So he's pulled into this program, and the reason that he's initially pulled into the program, that what he is told that he is there to do is help people. And then we get introduced to the Kate Capshaw character, who is one of the scientists working on this program. We see that he immediately is attracted to her. I mean, because this is that era of Kate Capshaw, you would be.
Yeah, it's hard not to be attracted to her. By the way, this is the same year Temple of Doom, 84.
Yeah. And she was attracted enough that Steven Spielberg is like, I need to live with her for the rest of my life.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think in 84, Kate Capshaw had in her contract that any movie she does, somebody's heart has to get ripped out of their chest?
I think it's entirely plausible that she did have that clause in her contract.
Right.
Yeah. Because there was a lot of hearts getting ripped out.
I had that clause in my contract, and you guys just completely ignored it.
Yeah, you had a lot of clauses we ignored.
You're right. All right. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No. I'm just talking the plot. So the general plot is, now we've got this guy, Dennis Quaid, who has been pulled into this program and he's on the run. He's kind of hiding out from the mafia. So we get why he's willing to do this, to sort of hideout, and he's attracted to Kate Capshaw. So you get that, like, he's like, oh, maybe I'll hang around here a little while and see if I can put this together, right? And so he doesn't lose his sort of like lazy slacker doing the minimum effort persona, because they give him enough reasons to be there to justify why he agrees to do it. So now he's living with this program, learning how to use his psychic powers to get into people's dreams.
Well, the main reason is because they're going to audit him if they don't. They blackmail him into doing it. And
that's what I'm saying. They give him enough reasons that he's like, okay, yeah, I should probably stay here and do this. So now we get to the Dennis Quaid going into people's dreams portion of the movie. And initially it is like he's trying to help this the guy that I mentioned earlier, the construction worker who dreams of falling, and he's in his dream trying to keep him from falling. And we get this terrifying moment where he falls too, and then he wakes up, right? And we introduce the kid. And the kid is an important character because the kid's nightmare, then it becomes the part of the climax of the movie. The kid who has this nightmare of this terrible monster that comes and breaks in his house and kills him. And the monster is like this half man, half snake thing with like a cobra head and big teeth.
But before you get to that dream, I just want to make a comment on the scaffolding dream. I think the movie makes a mistake in having that be his first dream, because I think that his transition is too fast, because he goes from not wanting anything to do with it, he's being blackmailed into it. He goes from the dream. That dream does really nothing to further the story along. He falls off. He wakes up from that dream and is like, wow, that was amazing. I'm all in. That's all in. I think that the kid's dream should have been the first dream. And I think you should do away with the scaffolding. Cut that out.
I don't agree with that. I think the scaffolding dream serves one important purpose, which is the implication that the reason he didn't die is because he woke up. Because one of the plot points of the movie is that the way your dream protects you from dying is you wake up before you hit the ground, right? And we see him falling, and then he wakes up before he hits the ground. When we compare that to the David Patrick Kelly dream, where the person actually dies in the dream, and then we see that they're dead in real life. Those two, I think you need both of those dreams to show what's happening here. So now he's in this dream with this kid who's having a terrible nightmare all the time.
By the way, this is like Tim Burton before Tim Burton. That dream, like the weird shapes and the mantle of the fireplace and everything was like really Tim Burton.
At one point, I don't remember if it's the first dream or not, but at one point they go down a staircase that's in darkness that goes forever.
Yeah.
This like creaky wooden staircase that goes on forever.
Right.
That felt like a dream to me.
Yeah.
Like that. I've been in dreams where I'm climbing up a thing where there's just infinite drop on either side, and you have that fear of falling and you're climbing up something. That moment felt so real to a dream to me. And it's like you said, it's the Tim Burton thing, because that staircase felt very Tim Burton, right?
And when they knock on the door and he's walking to the door, they cut frames out. So he just jumps to the door. Yeah. That felt very dreamlike to me.
It's very dreamlike. Yeah. And the monster is, if you were a little kid, that monster would be legitimately terrifying.
That dream was fucking scary.
Yeah.
That kid dream when you're in
the big snake monster.
Yeah. What scared me the most is like, when he's like, that's my dad, he doesn't help. And he runs out, and the dad was like, little bastard's right. And then he goes out, and then you hear like, ah! And the fucking snake monster's eating him in the room. That scared the shit out of me. It's like,
by the way, that's fucking hilarious. That's my dad. He won't help.
Yeah. And he doesn't even acknowledge his dad. His dad just sitting pissed off at the table. And I'm like, fuck, is that the way my kids see me? Like, that's my dad. He's not going to help. The little bastard's right. You know, like with an old Milwaukee can, drinking with a dirty tank top on.
I bet that is kind of how your kids see you. with your old Milwaukee and your dirty tank top. So we've got the Dennis Quaid character doing what he thinks is good work. He's becoming engaged with the program. He likes the idea of helping the kid. All that's happening. But we have a parallel story happening with the David Patrick Kelly character. And we have the David Patrick Kelly character going into dreams. We see him come out of a dream that he'd been in with a woman, and she has died. She has gone into cardiac arrest and died. And gradually we sort of reveal that there is a parallel government program happening that is all about trying to train and experiment on the feasibility of training psychic assassins. People who can go in your dream, murder you in your dream, have you die in real life, and then there's no like evidence, right? So, you could murder state officials and that kind of stuff without
It's a
getting caught.
perfect way to kill people.
Yeah.
Because that's a part of the B story that is created where this, where the president, the opening scene is the president has this dream of nuclear annihilation. And he keeps having this reoccurring dream as the story comes out. As the movie progresses, every now and then they check back in on the president who's having these dreams. And his second dream was really spooky, where you have the zombies, the radiation zombies in the dream.
Well, and what's interesting is, this is where the storytelling is actually fairly good, so fairly clever. So these two parallel dreams are going to intersect at the Eddie Albert character, because you've got the Dennis Quaid character's like, I'm here to help, so I'm supposed to go in Eddie Albert's dream, he's the president, and help him get past this nightmare that he's having. But the president he's having such horrible dreams about nuclear war that he wants to sign a disarmament treaty. He wants to go to the table with the Russians. He wants to sign a sweeping disarmament treaty and get rid of most of the nuclear weapons. That is what he wants to do. And it's driven by this nightmare he has of nuclear war. His advisor does not want that. His advisor thinks that will disarm the country, that he's the head of the CIA or something, right? Who's like, no, we can't afford to give up our weapons. This will destroy the country if we let the president do this. So he's got the other program going, the David Patrick Kelly program, where instead of sending somebody into the president's dream to help him overcome this nightmare, he's going to send somebody into the president's dream to just have him killed, so that he can't do this disarmament thing. And so that's where our two storylines are going to collide, is in this president dream. So let's get to the George Wendt piece of this. This is ostensibly for George Wendt.
Yeah, this is a good time to bring on George Wendt. We should probably just follow his storyline all the way through.
George Wendt doesn't have a huge part in this, but he has an important part. So George Wendt plays a writer named Charlie Prince, who is not at all Stephen King, who writes lurid tales of horror and the supernatural, but he's not Stephen King. It's Charlie Prince, totally different.
But I just want to, like, a horror author is a cool character.
Yeah,
he's a cool character in the thing, like, oh, this guy's a horror author. But then, it makes me, when I saw that, I kind of snickered to myself, and I was like, did Ty and Daniel, like, do they go and like do investigative work? Do they go and like,
no? I guarantee Stephen King is not doing investigative work.
Well, and Stephen King is not a conspiracy type guy. Yeah. I mean, I guess he did do like the fire starters about MK Ultra and those type of things, but he's not a conspiracy type guy in the way that George Wendt is. But you're watching that and you're like, hey, George, why don't you just go in a fucking room and make this shit up? Why are you like in the belly of the beast trying to for your book? You're not doing it. You're not a journalist. Writer,
this is not a very good depiction of what a writer actually does.
Do you think it'd make more sense if George Wendt was a reporter?
Yes, that would make way more sense. But it wouldn't be as quirky. So the thing that's great about the George Wendt character in this, the Charlie Prince character, is it's quirky. He's like this weird little guy who shows up and goes, "Hey, here's my books." He shows him his books, and he's like, "And I'm doing this, and I'm like learning about this thing with the dreams, and I think there's a secret government program." He's the guy. He's a combination of the crazy conspiracy theory guy on like Reddit or 4chan and Stephen King. Like, if those two characters got jammed together, that's who this guy is. But what it does,
he didn't feel as talented as Stephen King. But anyway, go ahead.
No, I mean, obviously Stephen King doesn't have to do this kind of stuff because Stephen King is a billionaire. But
by the way, Stephen King's a big fan of the show. So
big fan of the show, and we have nothing but respect for Mr. King. Yeah. But what it does do is it pushes the Dennis Quaid character toward figuring out what's really going on. It's the first time he really gets a version of the story that is wildly different from what he's been told. One thing that I bumped against
is George Wendt is like, hey, I think there's something more to this. The government's funding it, and here's the things. And Quaid goes, woo, woo. And the thing, I'm like, hey, Quaid, They came and kidnapped you and took you to this brain experiment, and now you're going in people's heads and living their dreams and helping them. And this guy's like, hey, maybe they want to do something bad with it. And you're like, oh, crazy author guy. You know, like, haven't seen anything like this happen before.
Okay, that is fair that bumps you. That is absolutely fair, because that bumps me in a lot of movies where I'm like the person has just seen some crazy shit, and then a second crazy thing happens. They're like, oh, that can't be true. I'm like, dude, did you just see the first thing that happened? Which is why I love
Jack Burton.
Big Trouble in Jack Burton so much. Like, I consider myself a reasonable man, but I've seen some pretty unreasonable shit.
Right, exactly. That's the perfect way to handle it. Yeah,
it's
perfect.
Some
pretty unreasonable shit right now.
Yeah, because once you've seen a guy ride from the sky on a bolt of lightning, anything that happens after that is reasonable.
It's all open.
Yeah, like anything can happen now.
What does he say about the eye, like lasers coming out of his eyes? You know,
I absolutely agree with you that that all the shit that happened to the Dennis Quaid character at this point, somebody coming up and going, maybe there's a government conspiracy, and him going, oh, that's crazy pants. Come on.
Yeah. By the way, it was good seeing George Wendt at a bar. There's like, you know, go ahead.
By the way, I will say that the one disappointing thing about doing this episode, and I tried really hard to do it with me. Okay, the two really disappointing things about doing this episode
is with
Joseph. I really wanted to have a big mug of beer.
Oh yeah, for George.
While
why
we were
didn't
doing
you?
This.
Why didn't you?
Because I didn't have any beer. I don't have any beer in the house.
What?
So I
thought you were. I thought you loved beer.
Well, I mean, but I try not to just drink constantly. So I get beer when I'm craving beer, but I don't just always have it on hand.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, I was like, oh shit, I didn't get any beer.
Can Joseph Photoshop a beer mug?
Yeah, like Joseph, can you Photoshop me holding a mug of beer?
Will do. Right.
Thanks, man.
Cheers.
Cheers. Anyway, so then we get this Charlie Prince character who shows up, exposes what he thinks is the conspiracy, and Dennis Quaid then starts. This kicks off the portion of the movie where Dennis Quaid is investigating, where he's trying to figure out, is this what's going on? Is that what David Patrick Kelly's character is doing? Is the government trying to train us to be assassins? All of those things start happening, which builds up the big climax of the movie.
Yeah. And he sees David Kelly and that woman, the dream go bad, she dies. He goes and sees David Kelly afterwards, and he's clearly a psychopath.
Yeah,
and then
he's just eating a sandwich.
Yeah, he's eating a sandwich, he's drinking his cup. Let go of my hand or you're going to pull back a bloody stump.
Yeah.
But then he goes and investigates this guy. He goes, by the way, the security of this place is fucking terrible. Like, there's 3 scenes where he breaks into that night. And even Christopher Plummer's like, hey, you've been breaking in at night. You need to stop doing that. And it's like, well, hey, Plummer, if you know this, put a fucking guard at the door, dude.
Like a guard.
Yeah, like a guard. And like, how do you know it if you're videoing this shit? Like, you know, put a stop to it. He definitely acknowledged that he's seen
this is the least secure government program of all time.
Of all time.
Yeah.
Of all time. So he goes in there and he goes in his file, and I guess David Patrick Kelly killed his dad.
Yeah.
And he sees that, and that's kind of that was kind of a nice little spooky. I like the horror. The Dreamscape is such a better movie with the horror elements in it. You know, it's like horror sci-fi.
Yeah,
so,
and I think they were trying to make this much more of sort of a general audience movie, which I think a version of this movie that really leans in on the horror side would be really interesting.
I agree. I think they should have leaned into the horror. So now Quaid is like, then he sees Wendt again. And it's like a deep throat situation where Wendt's like outside underneath the street light. And he's like, sorry for all the cloak and dagger stuff, but I think they're cracking down on me. And he's like, well, I didn't believe you 2 days ago, but I believe you now.
Right.
And then the guy, this movie is full of the 80s moments where the guys with the jackets that come around the corner and then they look behind them and they're coming like, we got to get out of here. Well, no. These are the guys that CIA are afraid of.
Right.
Yeah. They're the secret of the thing. So then, they get lost in the pep rally, and then poor George Wendt takes one in the heart, kills him.
Yeah. I remember even when I saw that as a kid, I remember being very upsetting.
Yeah.
That they just sort of casually shoot him. Yeah.
Now, if anybody wants to play a bad guy, watch the way Christopher Plummer does it. Look, I love this movie. I don't have anything against this movie, but Christopher Plummer is above this movie. He elevates it. And when Max confronts him about the lady being killed, he says, why did that happen? And he goes, I just wanted to see if it would happen.
Right. He was testing his theory.
Yeah, he was testing his theory and using a body or using that lady to do it. And so Max is like, I'm fucking out of here. I'm not being a part of this. Guess where Max shows up?
Yep.
Back at the station wagon, cold.
Yeah. So Christopher Plummer, once the Christopher Plummer character has realized what this program can do, that David Patrick Kelly has demonstrated that it is possible to kill people in their dreams. So his wildest dreams of what he could use this program for have come to fruition. He just starts getting rid of everybody who's in his way.
So now all the stories collide because now the president is wanting help with his dreams, and Christopher Plummer's like, "Hey, we'll help you. We got this program coming. Come join us."
No, it's a wonderful program that will totally help you.
Dumbass getting
and
rid
David
of
Patrick
nuclear
Kelly
weapons.
is such a wonderful therapist.
Yeah. Oh, and we got the great guy, the best guy here. So the president shows up without any background checks on David Patrick Kelly or any of that, and goes to sleep.
Where the fuck is the Secret Service, man?
Yeah, where the fuck are they? Well, there's this great scene, and I'm jumping the gun, but when the president realizes that Plummer wants to kill him, and he's like, "Get the fuck away from him," and he's walking away, and his service come to surround him, and Christopher Plummer's like, "You guys are fine. We don't need you." And they go, "Oh, okay." And they turn around and walk away. And the president's like, "No, come back. Don't let this guy next to me. You fucking idiots. You're supposed to he doesn't tell you when to leave. I tell you when to leave." So, but now all these storylines combine. The president's there. David Patrick Kelly's there. And Dennis Quaid is there. And he goes to sleep under. And now this is the grand confrontation of the dream.
Yeah. So now we have the two guys who have mastered dream power confronting each other inside of the president's dream. And yeah, it's awesome.
I think David Patrick Kelly's biggest misstep in this confrontation is he's like, haven't you learned by now? You can do whatever the fuck you want in a dream. And Dennis Quaid is like, oh, really? And it's like, hey, man. He doesn't know that.
He doesn't know that.
Yeah, might as well don't tell your enemy your greatest secret, Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like being like, didn't you know there's free guns in here? Oh, well, now I have a gun.
There's a gun right next to you. You could shoot me and I wouldn't even know.
No one would even know.
Right. So Quaid comes in and he's like, tells the president, he's like, hey, but by the way, that whole dream sequence it feels so cool. It's like retro, the orange screen, it feels like a dream. You got the hellhounds. You got the Snake Man coming back. And what's up with the Snake Man, by the way?
Well, the Snake Man was the scary thing in the little kid's dream.
You're exactly right, because Quaid drew a picture of it.
Yeah.
And he drew a picture of it and he said, that really got to you, didn't it? He said, yeah. And then he says,
I know what scares you.
Yeah.
And he turns into the Snake Man.
But by the way, give it up for the president, because when they come and there's that big void, he just hauls ass and like jumps over it and rolls. And you're like, hey, Mr. President. All right. Like the president
has a couple of good moments in here.
Yeah. I bet he's one of those war hero presidents. I bet he's like,
he's willing to throw down because of course the climax of the confrontation is you have Dennis Quaid facing off with David Patrick Kelly, who's in this Snake Man form. Dennis Quaid remembering that David Patrick Kelly had murdered his father and that his father had probably been abusive, turns into his father.
Right.
And says, son, why did you kill me? And that's startling enough that it startles the David Patrick Kelly character for a second. And while he's startled, President comes with a big old metal bar
right through the
and
fucking
impales him
chest
from behind.
And impales him from behind.
So we have the big confrontation. The president is not a fainting flower. He's ready to mix it up. Gets in there with the metal pipe, takes him out.
Slams it through his chest.
Yeah. And now we have defeated evil. We have defeated the evil David Patrick Kelly. We have saved the president. But I felt like the movie ends on, I mean, it's hopeful in that, yay, we saved the president. But you also get the sense that the shadowy figures, the shadowy government agencies represented by Christopher Plummer, I don't know. They're still out there. They might get back in this mix. I felt like there was a little bit of sequel setting up here.
Oh, they're 100% sequel setting up.
Yeah.
But another thing I bumped up a little bit is Dennis Quaid just saved the president's life. The president comes out and he's like, these motherfuckers are trying to kill me. Thank you, Dennis Quaid. And he's walking down, he's surrounded by his guys, and Dennis is like, and he says to him, they're they got to kill me now because I can't live. And the president's like, yeah. and he goes, he's a powerful man. and then Dennis is like looking down, kicking rocks. And then he goes, well, maybe I can assign a few guys to you. A few guys? And Christopher Plummer, yeah, he's a powerful man. You're the fucking president. Like, and I just saved your life. Like, do something better. And then and Dennis Quaid's like, I think I'm on my own. Like, I guess I got to handle it. You're just going to assign me 2 guys?
I got to handle my own business now.
Yeah, I guess I got to handle my own business and go do his thing. Thanks, fucking president. The president's like, see you later. Gets them back in the car and they drive away. You know? Like, at least give him a medal. But I do I do find it really satisfying when Quaid shows up in Plummer's dream and he peels his head off and bites Christopher Plummer and kills him. And by the way, Christopher Plummer's wife? Huh?
Plummer's doing okay.
Well, he was before he's a corpse. But I was like, who is this lady in the bed with Christopher Plummer? In the blue room. That room is blued out. That's the blue man room. So she wakes up. She goes to wake him up. He's dead. But then I start thinking, like, think of the power of Quaid. Because he's the only living psychic that can do this now. And he doesn't need machines. So he can kill anybody. Yeah. You know? Like, he doesn't need machines to do it. He doesn't need, you know, so like that's a superpower.
No, it absolutely is.
Yeah. So now
he becomes a terrifying character.
Yeah. Right. So now him and Cape Capshaw are in the train, and it's interesting that they're taking a train. They go in their little cabin. They're about to sex their little sexy time. They're doing a little smoochy, and he says, "You think it'd be as good as in her dream?" And she says, "I think it will." And he goes, "How do you know?" And she goes, "Not the only psychic. Heating up in there. Yeah, the windows are getting steamy." And the guy shows up that was in his dream when he seduced her in the dream. By the way, we kind of skipped over that one. Where is that in the Me Too movement? Like, if you go into somebody's dream and you...
Oh, no, that is absolutely assault.
That's that is and I thought she was a good sport about it, because at first she was like, you don't go in my dream. Like, she was pissed off, and then he's like, I'm sorry, and she's like, stop being apologetic.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll let that one slide. You know, it's like, I don't think that's probably not I don't know if that's allowed.
No. So one of the things we've talked about before is that the 80s was just kind of a rapey decade.
Yes.
Like, it was a plot point in a lot of movies.
Yeah.
That there was stuff that we absolutely know is sexual assault.
Right.
This moment is rapey. It's like you can't just pop into somebody's dream and start, sexing them up.
But the thing is though, yes, there's no question that it's morally wrong what he did.
Yep.
But I think it's on a different level than most 80s, because he showed up in the dream and it was consensual, right? He didn't do anything.
No, there's no force involved, but there is deception.
There's a violation.
Involved.
Yeah, because look, here's the thing. She made it clear to him she didn't want this. It doesn't matter if she's attracted or not. She doesn't want this because it's against it's not good for the program, and it's against her ethics when it comes to work. And she's an assistant. So she said clearly, I don't want this.
No, and it definitely falls in the no means no territory.
In the no means no territory. And then he shows up, and it's like, this is not right, Quaid. This is not a cool thing. This is not a cool thing what you're doing.
No, it is. It is not. If you find yourself, to the audience, if you find yourself with dream powers where you can go in someone else's dream, don't do this.
We should do our G.I. Joe knowing is half the battle, where we
knowing
come in
is
and
half
say,
the battle.
Listen, if you're a psychic and you have dream powers and you are capable of going into the whatever you're attracted to's dreams, don't do it. Don't, especially when she told you no like 3 times.
Yeah,
and knowing half the battle.
Consent matters, kids.
But I don't put it on the level of like Revenge of the Nerds. Like Revenge of the Nerds.
No.
Revenge of the Nerds is like
there is levels of rapiness.
yeah. Revenge of the Nerds is like, if you, like from 0 to rape, they're at rape, right?
Yes.
It's like this is you all should go to jail for what you did.
Oh, absolutely.
On many different levels. Anyway, so then I thought this was a great ending. I actually think this movie, I don't know what happened on that last viewing. I actually think this movie was really good. And the train ticket taker that comes into their train is the one that he saw in the dream. And I remember in the dream being like, why is this guy lingering? And it's because they want you to pay attention to him.
They want you to see him.
They want you to see him. They want you to realize that he's there, and he leaves. And then he shows up again, and then it ends. So it has that Inception ending where are they dreaming or not dreaming? And you're right. They were definitely setting up for a sequel. And how many times do you think Jonathan Nolan saw this movie, and how much of Inception is it like it without Dreamscape? Is there an Inception?
You know what? It has to be one of his influences.
It
I would
has
think.
to be.
Yeah.
I mean, structurally, like the whole idea of a psychic invading dreams, they just do it without a psychic. You just have machines.
You have technology.
You have technology. You can just do it technology. But the whole concept of ending, if you don't know it's a dream or not, if it's not a dream, but there are so many similarities. The reason that I watched it last time, now that I think about it, is I think I remember watching Inception and being like, is this super close to Dreamscape? Now, again, I don't think it's like they copied Dreamscape. I don't think any of those things. I think that they were inspired by some strong ideas in the movie and then created Inception in that, there are no more ideas. Like everything is
inspired by something else.
Is inspired by something else.
Yes. Or often multiple other things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That you mix in your head into a new thing. Yeah.
Oh, but you know what, Ty? We didn't talk about the director, Jonathan Rubin. But this was the last movie he wrote, which is interesting to me because it seems he's a good writer. I think he did Sleeping with the Enemy, did Money Train, he did The Good Son. So he went and had like a really successful run. What about the guy that did Dream Warriors, Nightmare on Elm Street 3?
He did a lot of stuff. I was talking with Ty about that. Is like he directed The Mask.
Did he really?
Directed Eraser and the seminal masterpiece, The Scorpion King.
Oh. Okay. Let's do top 5.
Top 5 George Wendt performances. Now, I will give you one little fact, though, about Bumper. Was it Bumpy? What was the kid's name?
I don't know. Bumper.
Bumper. I guess George liked the kid, and the kid showed up in Cheers in an episode.
Oh, cool.
Well, I mean, obviously the greatest character George Wendt has ever played, and he played him for like 15 fucking seasons, is Norm.
Exactly.
Norm is generally, Norm was the funniest thing on the show. His little, you can watch on YouTube, you can find supercuts of this, when he would walk in the bar and somebody would say something to him and he would reply in a way that ends with, "Give me a beer." The delivery of those, I mean, it's good writing. The writers were very good, but the delivery of those moments, he was a comedic genius. He was a physical comedy and comedic timing genius in that movie. Yeah, there's a line he says in there that I still use. Like, "How you doing today? It's a dog-eat-dog world, and I'm wearing Milkbone underwear."
He was a good actor.
Yeah.
There was a Twilight Zone that he was in that I loved, and it was in the 80s, and he was a guy who wanted to be an inventor, but he was always nagged by his wife. He always like was eating shit, he just had a really rough life, and he found a doorway in his basement. And when he went through the doorway, it was a parallel world with him in the 1700s, and he was a famous inventor. And so then he ended up like choosing that life over this wife, and it was a really great Twilight Zone. But he was very good in it. He's a good actor.
He was a good actor. Yeah. Were you a fan of the SNL skit with the Bears?
I was just gonna say we're on the same frequency because
we are on the same frequency here.
I would say like I got like Norm is where I got the most joy, and then the Bears is like where I got the next joy. I don't think we've talked about this, Ty or Joseph, but I was a House 2. I liked House 2. I haven't seen it. I know a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people think it's like horrible, but I thought it was really fun. I thought it was really interesting, and I liked him in it. When he showed up and the certain things. Also, there had to be some connection to Cheers because the mailman showed up and you remember he was like sword fighting the guys, and like he showed up as like You know, the mailman in Cheers?
Cliff.
He showed up in the movie. Cliff. Yeah, he showed up in the movie and had this amazing action sequence in the movie, and then he left. So there has to have some connection to Cheers.
Yeah, where Wendt was like, yeah, we could bring in my buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
And you were not a big Fletch fan. I was a bigger Fletch fan than you were.
You mean the original Fletch?
Yeah.
I loved Fletch. I'm a massive Fletch fan. I didn't like the new Fletch.
Oh, okay. Because I like Fletch, and the reason I bring it up is because Fat Sam, who Wendt plays in Fletch, is not a comedic character. And you get to see some of his non-comedic acting chops there, where he's just playing this kind of sad character who's like kind of a tragic character in that movie. When the scene where he's like, you know, he's explaining why he betrayed Fletch, and it was just junk. All I got was free junk. And, you know, just the sad addict who's fucking up his life in the context of this comedy movie. But I thought he was good in that.
I guess I would take Gung Ho.
Yeah, Gung Ho is pretty good.
So is House our fifth, or
I'd be fine if we did House as the fifth.
Yeah.
all right? Let's see if the patrons. I'm thinking 3 out of 5. Let's roll with it.
Well, you know it. You know the answers.
Yeah, I do. Oh no, they got 4.
Dude,
Oh, wow.
this is second 4 in a row. I think it's because our relationship's building.
Yep.
I think that they know us more, and I think
We've
know them
become more codependent.
Yeah, we're more codependent. All right.
Well, it was fun talking about Dreamscape, a movie that Wes and I both remember fondly from our childhoods, but also, you know, to give a shout out to George. We grew up with George. Like, George was a fixture in my life for a decade. You know, on Cheers, and the funniest thing on Cheers, and one of the big reasons why you watch Cheers. Like, when I watched Cheers, I wanted to see what funny thing he was going to say when he walked into the bar. That was part of why you turn it on. So it was really...
What was amazing, though, when I was working up the list for the poll, is how the Norm character showed up in so many other shows.
Oh, yeah.
It was comedic. Like, of course, he was in The Simpsons, but the Norm character showed up in a lot of other entities.
Like him as a character, you mean?
Yes, the Norm character. Yeah.
Yeah, he had this likability that just radiated through all his different roles. Even in Dreamscape, the horror writer that's coming in there, like another actor would have played that, and the scene would have been different because they would have been unlikable.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, what, you're a fucking horror writer and you're going to come in and meddle with this shit and like get people... But because it was George Wendt, you just liked him. You know, just thought
that's why his murder was so devastating for me the first time I saw the movie, because I really liked that character, and when he gets killed, it was very upsetting.
Yeah, and there's something about him where there's nothing inauthentic about him.
Yeah,
there's everything he says it feels like the truth. You know, and that's why those are the best comedic actors, because their delivery is so true, and it just hits home. And I agree with Ty. Like, he was my favorite thing about Cheers. Look, Cheers loved Cheers. He went, Norm, like when he came in, and
exactly. Yeah. That's a great line to go out on. Cheers loved Cheers. Cheers loved Norm.
Cheers loved Norm. Thank you guys for hanging out. What do you think, Ty? Do we deserve a like and subscribe this time, or?
You know what? If you want to give us a like or a subscribe because you agree that George Wendt was a class act and a classic, that's fine. Don't do it for us. We don't deserve it, but George Wendt deserves it.
Or if you just feel sorry for us.
Or if you feel sorry for us.
We're not too proud to take pity.
Yeah, and every time we get a like or a subscribe, we're mean to Joseph. So if you just hate Joseph, you want us to pile on, you can do that.
Say goodbye, Ty.
Goodbye, Ty.